Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors Podcast, and this is episode number 82. What are you going to do when there's an assistant in the room? Are you going to be great to them? I hope so, because that's what this episode is all about. Today we have Julia Linger. Julia Linger has been an assistant to some of the most powerful people in this industry. You guys know the Hamilton song, I Want to Be in the Room Where It Happened? Well, in Hollywood, Julia is and has been in all of those rooms. And she is revealing all of the secrets, including things like assistants are always watching you, even in your acting classes. Oh my God. Secret conversations with casting directors, agents that they have about you behind closed doors. Secrets certain agencies may keep from you that are keeping you out of certain casting offices. TLDR, treat your assistants great. Treat them as the gatekeepers that they are. Treat them as the incredible, talented, multifaceted, valuable people that they are. Just a tip. You guys, Self-Tape May! It's coming! Woo! I hope you didn't skip over this intro because we've got a website for you. Every year, everyone is like, oh my God, where do I sign up? And that has been complicated, I feel like, because the motto has been, there's no sign up, just participate. And here's the thing, that's still true. You don't have to sign up. You could just participate. If it makes you feel excited and better, to go on to www.selftapemay.com and sign up, then you will have signed up and we will know that you've signed up. I get a little email that's like, this person has signed up. We're trying to get something kind of cool together for it this year. Will it happen? We're not sure. We're not sure. Technology. That's how I feel about it. But check back in. And in the meantime, if you feel like signing up, if it makes your heart happy to sign up, then go to selftapemay.com and sign up for Self-Tape May. And also, if you are getting somebody into Self-Tape May this year, if anybody's asking you questions, if you're acting teachers or somebody is asking about what it is, you can go on selftapemay.com. I've got the videos on there that explain what it is, rules, all that sort of stuff. If it's material that has not aired, you will mute that tape. You will mute it. You guys are so good about that. I really appreciate it. You guys, we got so many new reviews. The impossible happened. My baby has been saved from the well, and you did it. I'm so thrilled. So who are these magical champions who saved this baby from the well? Who are the people that did the impossible? The socks make the outfit. Eileen Noonan, CC Chavez, Maddie C. Nichols, Isla Tanatales, maybe, Eva Cantor, Eller W. Chen, and Reg 1025. Yes, and lastly, the updated review, still the best, 5 out of 5, by Nazaruski. I know who that is. Thank you, Nazaruski! If you didn't get a chance last week, it's not too late. Please leave us a review. Like, listen, the baby's been saved from the well, but the baby could use some nice little cozy socks. You know, like a nice little, happy blanket around their soul. So please rate and leave a review on whatever app you're listening to this magical podcast on. This episode is sponsored by Jeff Pride at Self Tapes Here. That's Jeff Pride at Self Tapes Here on Instagram. Carla Zuniga on Instagram at Carla Zuniga Hair for all of your hair cutting needs. And Greg Saffel at singinglessonslosangeles.com. That's Greg Saffel at singinglessonslosangeles.com. All right. I hope you're setting up for a self-tape audition. And I hope you're gonna book it. Book it.
Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything.
Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with the Audrey Helps Actors podcast. And today we have
Julia Linger.
Hi, Julia.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So excited. So you're an assistant here in Hollywood.
Yes.
You've been assistanting, it seems, for several years.
Yes.
And you've got a pretty fabulous boss right now and a pretty fabulous job. And
Yeah.
I would just love to talk about this because we had gotten in touch through another listener of the podcast, Anthony, and he had said he's in a class with you.
Mm-hmm.
and that you would probably bring a really interesting perspective. And so I was sort of like, oh, yes, I would love the dish.
It's true. So right now I'm at HBO Max, which has been a dream of a company working under a dream boss, Miss Linda Lowy. She was freelance casting for a while, so she brings that perspective of it to the network side, which is really important. But I came up from doing internships in casting and then to work at a talent agency to then back to casting, but all different, parts of casting, to commercial, to independent, to now network. And through all of it, being an assistant intern, we are there so strategically many times. One of the first things I learned at my freelance casting internship was they put us, the interns, in the waiting room with the actors. Meanwhile, the casting directors were back there, in session or in their office. And a lot of times they would tell us, they would say, hey, when actors come in, can you just let us know how they are in the waiting room? Were they rude to you? Were they kind to you? And people don't really realize that, but we're kind of there doing our job, but also to be there to be like, this person was really nice to us, or this person was kind of rude to us in the waiting room, assuming that we, don't have much, I don't want to say power, but not much power. So I really learned who was being genuinely kind. And when I say nice, it doesn't have to be like, oh, you're the best person I've ever met. It's just being like, hi, how are you? I'm checking in. Because I understand, and we understand actors maybe in the moment or focused, and totally understandable. But there are some actors that I love actors. I mean, that's why I'm in this industry. But sometimes we would have people that come in and just completely disregarded us. And that was kind of just like, okay, they wrote us off. And then if they continued to be rude in the waiting room, we were like, okay, just going to take a mental note of that. And a lot of things people don't realize about assistants or interns is most of us are working to be at that level of casting director or to be a producer or director. If you're working as an assistant at a talent agency, you're most likely not a career assistant. There are those, but most of us are there to be basically the next generation of casting producers, directors. And 20% of them are going to be agents who are there for that reason. But the point is if they're an assistant at an agency or a very high level volume desk, they don't want to be there much longer than they have to as an assistant. So they're going to be the people in the room 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And that's really important to remember for a lot of actors as well.
Yeah, I think one thing that actors don't understand is that everything is rising at all times. And I remember when I graduated from college, she's wearing her Emerson shirt, you guys. She's loud and proud with her Emerson love.
Oh, yes.
I also was in Boston. I went to Boston University.
Oh, yay.
And I remember we did this night where, past graduates and stuff would come and tell us the stuff. And they had said to us, don't try to climb to another level of your circle. Don't try to jump circles.
Right.
They were like, if it happens, it happens. But if you just really work your circle, and if you're great to your circle, and if you create and network and are lovely to your circle, just because time passes, your circle will rise and be a circle that is on the top. And I really remember taking that in, and I'm not sure how I treated people when I first got to LA. I hope I was nice to them. But I do know now, sitting on this side of things, that absolutely the assistants become the executive producers of your next show. The assistants become people that are looking at you as casting directors for your other show. So it definitely is a very small, big business.
It truly is. And I remember when I was a talent assistant at an agency, there were clients that weren't even my boss's clients, but they would always come in for self-tapings and were so delightful. And I remember one actor in particular, I had gone out to a bar with some friends that weekend, and she spotted me and she came up to me, she's like, hi, Julia, how are you? And we bonded over one piece of information in our lives. And that's how she became one of my favorite. I mean, I didn't have favorites, but she was definitely someone that
you can say have favorites.
She's definitely one of my favorites at the agency, but I remember her just being so kind, and she was so talented as well. And now that I'm on the position of casting, and whenever I see something that's right, I'll always drop her name in, because it wasn't just because she was nice. She also had the talent and she works really hard. And that's also important. And I'm not saying like, if you're nice, you'll get everything, because that's not how it works. But she was just such a kind human being and also so talented that I want her to be successful. Like, I want to put her name in when it comes up on lists and whatnot. Even her just simply every time she'd walk by and be like, "Hi, Julia," I'd be like, "I love you."
Yes. Yeah.
They were usually kind of silent as the assistants, but it's like now it's like, I want to help you. I want you to succeed. Yeah.
What I also love about that is I remember really realizing in the last couple of years, as I've had enough friends in the industry long enough that I've seen careers go up and careers go down and careers go back up and careers go back down. And when you've sort of been in it long enough, ups and downs are no longer sort of the validation or the vilification that they were in the beginning. It used to be that if somebody was doing really well, everyone wanted to like suck a piece of that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing so well. I want to attach myself to whatever part of you is doing well and be a part of that world. And then when somebody was maybe having a rougher year or a few, a tendency to be like, "Oh, well, you don't, repelling like kryptonite."
Yeah.
And then after you've been in it for a while, and definitely with the perspective that you've had of seeing all actors of all ages, actors tend to sort of see the actors around them, which tends to be their age category. But when you're on casting, when you're in agents, you sort of see these people who've been in it for 10 years, these people who've been in it for 20, these people who've been in it for 50.
Yeah.
And I remember it really dawning on me a few years ago that you have to be like a few things. One, there's like options, but one is like really valuable in money. Like, you come with a check. If you as an actor are an asset, that you equal funding.
Right.
It's to be really good and really good to work with. And ideally all three, but you definitely have to be two of the three.
Yes.
If you're worth a lot of money and you're really good, but you're kind of a jerk, they'll work it out.
100%. Yeah.
If you're really worth a lot of money and maybe not so great, but you're really lovely on set,
yes,
then they'll work it out.
Exactly.
And if you're really great and really great to work with, but you're not worth a lot of money, then the asset you're bringing is you being wonderful on set, both in front of the camera and behind the camera.
Yes.
But if you're just really good and you're not worth any money and you're kind of a jerk, then you're replaceable.
And that's what's so interesting about our industry is a lot of it, especially for talent, for performers, is a lot of it does come with talent or natural talent as well. But I used to love this quote that was, "Work hard beats talent when talent doesn't work hard." I think whatever your craft is, it's so important to keep taking classes, to keep going in and keep being sharp and to meet new people. Kind of what you're saying, it broaden your circles, broaden your people, because you don't know who knows who that can help you to that next step. One thing that I was always told, because I had studied the business of acting when I was in college before becoming an assistant, one of the things that I was told by my professor who was a manager out here, he said, "Book the room, not the job." And I always tell actors that. I'm like, book the room, not the job. Because if a casting director loves you, but say, they send you to producers and, it's just not the right look or you're not the feel, it's not, half of the time, it's not you. It truly is something with, your deals, the dates, whatever. But if you book the room with the casting director and they love you, they will bring you up on other projects. So it's so crucial to just get on the side of casting and really just show who you are to them, because then the jobs will come from that.
Yeah, and I'd also love to talk about that in terms of just even set etiquette. I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a series regular and has come to the realization, as many do, that like, oh, it's also kind of dirty on this side of the mountain. Like, there's a lot of dirt over here. I thought it was going to be pretty sparkly. Yeah. There's sparkle, but there's a lot of grime. And we were just sort of talking about this thing that happens where you're working so hard to sort of climb the mountain. And then it's sort of like a natural thing that occurs where I think it's just insecurity, where maybe you're on set and you have a larger role and you kind of maybe don't want the extras talking to you. You don't want the co-stars talking to you. And that's not how I would say veteran actors feel. Like veteran actors who've been in it long enough know like the person who's the co-star today is definitely going to be the showrunner tomorrow. So everyone gets treated with grace. But it's a sneaky thing that can occur sometimes. And we were just sort of acknowledging, I think it's a little bit natural after you fought so hard to get to a certain level to want to separate yourself from the level that you've been at and be like, well, I'm this now.
Right.
But it doesn't serve anyone long term. And it can really be, I think, distancing both on the set and just sort of affirms an insecurity rather than like a confidence.
Absolutely. And I think when it's hard entirely to, say, be nice all the time, this and that, because I think us in our regular lives, if you have an off day and you don't want to be the most polite person, we have all been there. And I understand entirely when you're an actor, you become your brand. And it's so scary if, you don't know that you were being rude one day, you were in the zone, that you accidentally, didn't say thank you or something. It's just more about, I think what people don't talk about enough, especially in our industry, is creating boundaries. There's an assistant or someone overly eager to talk to you. Just be like, hey, I'm really in the moment right now. Do you mind if I just focus on this? And even that's like, okay, I respect that entirely. Instead of just being like, no. I think people don't set their boundaries enough, because I think once you say, hey, I'm having a really bad day. And I know that is a lot too, to feel like you have to say that, but just to say to people saying like, hey, I just need a moment. Thank you. That way the person is like, oh, okay, all right. But you're not accidentally being rude and being disrespectful.
You're just talking about communication skills.
Exactly, which people would be surprised how many people unfortunately lack it, both in front of and behind the camera. But with really long set days, when I don't get my 8 hours of sleep, I'm just like, no one talk to me. So I get it. If you're exhausted after a day of work and you're just like, ugh, but it's just creating that. And that's when I say just being nice. It's just creating boundaries too, and just making it clear that it's not you in the moment, especially with method actors when they are in that character. It's easy to forget.
I'm not a method actor, but I definitely have had roles where it was so intense what was being asked of me, and I knew it was going to be that for 8 hours. And it was like me doing that all day with a lot of coverage, and I needed to really reserve my energy, stay in the zone, things like that. So one thing that I've done that I think actors can know is if that's something that's happening to you, I'm fully comfortable emailing the AD before I show up that day and just saying, hey, I've got a really emotional long day tomorrow, and I just want you to know I would really appreciate it if I could just be set up a little bit separate from everybody else. If you could just communicate to the crew. I'm not going to be in the mood to chat a bunch. Like, I'm just going to want some space, and I want to be in the zone and maintain my energy. Anytime I've done that, everyone is so awesome about it.
Yeah.
They want to help you have the best day on set possible.
Absolutely.
And I've experienced just such a camaraderie and support in that. And, I do feel so silly sending it. I feel like, oh my God, I'm so obnoxious. But at the end of the day, I'm taking care of what I need to take care of to do the best performance, which is truly my job.
Right.
And communicating to the team what would help me do that to the best. And again, not like, hey, I'm going to be in character tomorrow, so tell me when to knock the fuck out, But instead like, hey, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a lot of me. I just need the energy and to focus if you could just communicate that to people. And in terms of audition rooms and things like that, I have found a little bit of self-awareness goes a really long way.
Absolutely.
I just really want inside scoop stuff because I know that's what everyone's digging. You're friends with actors, you're in comedy classes, you understand all of that side. So what are some things that maybe performers and actors aren't aware of to the degree that you think that they should be from the casting perspective?
So one of the first things I was taught in casting from Josh Einstein at Telsey, he looked at me and he was so sweet to always take me in the room as an intern. And I would always say, if I was an actor, I'd be so scared to get in front of a casting director, seeing your credits doing this. And he said, all we want in casting is the actor to do the best job in the room they can, because then our job is done. And so hearing him say, I want actors to do well, that he's not there and casting directors aren't there to judge you or make you feel uncomfortable. It's really just there to be like, please do well in this audition. Like, please, let's do well. And if you need to do another take, something happens, it's okay. That was such a pivotal moment for me, because I realized that it was less about looking at being like, oh, who came on top? It was just like, oh, who had fun and who did a really great job. And he also said to me, he's like, sometimes casting directors, we're tired. We've seen the same co-star lines 80 times today. We're exhausted. And same way with actors, if someone's tired after a day, it's like sometimes casting is the same. They'll be behind the table. They look really drained and tired and maybe trying to make conversation. But I mean, when you hear the same line, waiter number 5, would you like another water, all day long? By 4 p.m., you're kind of a little exhausted, but you're there to do the job. So that was something too that if I were an actor, to know like, oh no, the casting director doesn't hate me. They're just exhausted because my audition's at 4:45 on a Thursday evening, the same co-star line.
I love this perspective too, because I'm always trying to talk to actors about understanding what the other sides are. Because as actors, what we do for a living is empathy. We identify with other people, with their stories, with their position, and then we put ourselves in their shoes. Right. And that is what I think is also so tremendously valuable as a perspective in the industry, is it can help you take things less personal and also decide what kind of actor you want to be. One of the things that I personally really like to bring to sets, to rooms, whatever it is an energy, is a vitality. If I have a larger role, I really work to manage my energy so that my focus is there and so that I can still bring some life and some enthusiasm. But if I'm guest starring on an episode, if I'm coming in for the week, I know they're tired because they've been working 16-hour days for God knows what episode this is, and they're tired. And I really think such a gift of the guest cast is being able to come in with some energy, with some life, with some ease. And I think the same thing about a casting office is going through the change, which actors do have to go through, of feeling like they're being shot at by a firing squad. Yes. And instead coming in to do great work, but hopefully also, what do you want to bring to this room today?
Exactly. It's not saying actors are, you're coming in to make us casting feel good in the room. It's just more of, hey, just, we want you to do a good job. Don't be anyone but yourself and then the character that you are performing as. I think it's just sometimes it's like if you feel like they're being mean or not receptive or anything, grumpy, and me as a sensitive person, I will pick up on that on people and they're just tired. So I can't even imagine as actors who, it is your job to feel and to pick that up on people, how it must be really hard to do that. And another thing too, that's totally unrelated to performance, whatnot. One thing that I also saw on the agency side when sending people to auditions was, this is less relevant now with the age of self-tapes, but perfumes and colognes, when they were really strong and we were in tiny rooms taping with people, after a while was a lot. I would always write in the little audition thing, being like, hey, just try to limit, because some people do, it's not a problem. It's just when you're in a tiny, tiny room, in a warm room, and that cast director's been sitting there all day with people, it becomes overwhelming.
I don't do any of that because I have so many friends who have migraines. Yes. And a lot of people in this industry, shocker, have real migraine issues. And true. Perfume is an instant trigger for migraines. And I'm like, what I don't want to do is come in for just as a person, not as an actor trying to get a role, but just like as a person. You know what I don't want to do? I don't want to go into this little tiny space with you and have you have an ocular migraine because I wanted to wear nice scented things for the day.
I mean, please smell nice. I mean, don't be the other
don't
extreme.
Smell bad. That goes the same way.
I mean, doing your self-tapes, whatever, but in the But that was such a thing that people didn't even think of. And I mean, God bless them. But I remember there was one time we had older women come in for an audition, and it was a group of like 80-year-old women. They were adorable. They were all so sweet, but the perfume was so strong. And I was like, oh, they're so sweet. Like, I'm gonna let it. But after a couple hours, I was like, my goodness.
Like, Ethel, I need you to take it down a notch. Go stand outside. I've got a wipe for your neck.
Oh, they were so sweet though, so I could never say anything bad about them. But my goodness, it was overwhelming after a while.
You needed an Advil at the end of that day.
I
I'm
did.
sure.
I did, but they were
believe
so
you.
sweet.
But wait, Julia, wait. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by Greg Saffel at Singing Lessons Los Angeles. That's Greg Saffel at singinglessonslosangeles.com. We have to be working on our voice. We just have to be. Body and voice, the resonating tones, round sounds of our beautiful voices. If you haven't seen Coda yet, just watch Coda. I know that it gets complicated because it's like Singing Lessons Los Angeles. Just so you know, Greg does all things that aren't just singing. He does all things. Resonance. You hear in an episode coming up, the wonderful Amber Stonebreaker talks about getting her voice out of their higher pitch zone that, like a lot of us women, we sort of stay in this like, I'm friendly, don't kill me, higher pitch zone, especially when we're nervous. And a voice teacher can help you really bring those resonating tones down comfortably and confidently, so that way you're maybe having a little bit of a different vocal resonance for your character, for yourself when you're going about this wonderful world. So whatever it is, maybe you don't know, you just know you've never taken voice lessons before, please contact Greg at singinglessonslosangeles.com. If you have a listener question, please call 667-ACTOR-70. That's 667-ACTOR-70 for all of your listener question needs.
Hi, Audrey. My name is Cheyenne. I am kind of new to Los Angeles, originally from Hawaii, and I recently had a manager reach out to me, and he offered to represent me hip pocket, which is a term I very recently discovered through Google. I'm sure that you know what it is, but it's when they basically will like represent you without a contract and just saying if like you have legs or your relationship has legs, if you can book anything. And then if things start looking right, then you end up signing a contract. So I was just wondering if that's sketchy or if that's kind of typically something that happens out here. I wasn't really familiar with it back home, and now that I'm in LA, I feel very hesitant. And I listened to your episode about scams, and now I'm just a little bit scared. So if you have any advice, I would love to hear it. I really appreciate your podcast. I'm listening to some prior ones with Amy Linden, and you're amazing. Thank you so much. Bye.
Hey, Cheyenne, I love this question. So actually, I would say the fact that they want to hip pocket you, that's actually a good indication that you're not getting scammed. If there's no contract binding you, then they can't really scam you. Some things to watch out for in terms of scams are, you know, crazy clauses. They make you sign like a 3-year contract, and then in those 3 years, if you make X amount of money, that contract is automatically extended to like 7 years or something crazy like that. Other scams, obviously, if anyone's asking you to pay to be represented, that's a scam. But if they are hip pocketing you, it's kind of an old school term. I would say contracts nowadays, you know, it's kind of 50-50. My manager, whom I've been with since 2012, we've never signed a contract. And so technically she's hip pocketed me for a decade. But she's fantastic, and she has changed my life and my career. And we never did contracts. In terms of my agents, it's probably 50-50 in terms of signing contracts with agents. I don't think I've renewed a contract with my commercial agent in years and years and years. I can't even remember if I initially signed one, to be honest. It's sort of like some people think contracts are valuable. Some people think it's bullshit. So if somebody's using the term hip pocket, I would say it's not a sign that they're going to scam you. I would say it's a sign that maybe they aren't sure about whether or not you are valuable to be officially on their roster. It also may be a sign, and this is common while we're on the assistant episode, it can also be a sign that they're actually like a junior agent or something like that. And so they're actually not allowed to have their own roster officially. So sometimes assistants will be at an agency and they'll start to develop their own talent on the side. and they will use the agency's breakdowns and logo and email and all of that to get you auditions under the umbrella of this larger agency, but they actually don't have the relationships or the powers. They're just sort of like futzing around. So not a bad sign, not a good sign, not a bad sign, just a particular way of doing business that doesn't really mean anything anymore. Yay! All right, I hope that was helpful.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
And in terms of this agency side, casting directors, I think, are transparent. And I think everyone's pretty clear on, like, what are the things that are a drag? What are the things that are nice? What are the,
Right.
What are the things that make our day easy? What are the things that make our day hard? Most casting directors that you're dealing with understand actors work lots of jobs. They have lots of things going on. They have lives. Then they get these 14 pages and they have to put it on tape. Like, really empathetic. And I believe that's true about a lot of agents. And I think the agent world is like cloaked in like the invisibility cape.
Yes.
And everyone is just sort of like, what's going on back there?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the shocking or unique world, as I see it, of being a salesman for people and talent.
I mean, I'm coming from a place where I came out to LA and did my time, did my 1 year at an agency. I didn't want to be there longer than I needed to. Yeah, agencies are strange. I think agents, their life is hustling and working really hard. I would get emails in the wee hours of the morning from some agents because they were constantly checking breakdown, constantly looking for the next job for their client. They work insanely hard, as do their assistants and offices underneath them. There's not a single day, I think, when I was at the agency that I felt relaxed, which is not a healthy thing to say, but I think that's why
Migraines.
It was so bad. I had little travel size Advils in my drawer for both my boss and myself. And I think agents work so hard all the time that when they go to those lavish parties, when they do that and they act all cool, calm, collected, a lot of times those are their free times and they have the clerical work, but they don't have time and they do give it to the assistants. So many times that work does funnel down. On the talent agent side, I was on a big covering desk, which means a covering agent, think of a funnel. They are the funnel to the rest of the agency from the network and studio. So she covered CW, Blumhouse, HBO Max films at the time. And basically the casting from those would talk to my boss, who would then report to the agents. And then a point agent is who your agent is. And she was also a point agent for a lot of clients, but a lot of point agents also cover. It's kind of, they do both. So if you have a point agent who, say, covers for ABC and Fox, and that is what your dream is, perfect. Like if you want to be a love interest on CW, my boss was perfect. I was constantly in talks with them and represented people. It was perfect.
And that's hard information, I have to say. A lot of people don't realize agencies are also branded the same way that casting offices get branded, the same way that actors get branded. A lot of agencies are known for their blah, 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 fill in the blank talent.
Yes.
Or this other thing, fill in the blank talent. And you could be at an agency that, first of all, congratulations for getting an agent. Second of all, then now you have this agent. You could be at an agency that's actually not in alignment with your casting. And there's no resource. And everyone's really, I think, a little cagey about that information. And so good luck finding out that the agent that you're with actually doesn't have relationships with those offices or that network or that tone of show. That is something that you're trying to build towards.
I think a lot of actors, especially when starting out, greener actors, will shoot for the really huge agencies, which is great because if you have the talent, fantastic. But sometimes if you end up there with maybe a junior agent, someone who's looking to sign immediately, they're coming up as well, it's great, but you may be lost in the shuffle as opposed to if you go to a medium-sized to a smaller agency to start with on your first signing, where you get that attention, you get that time, they're going to focus on you. Exactly. And not to compare it to a psychologist, but it's great that you have one, but they may not be the right fit, kind of what you're saying. And that is totally okay. And agents understand it all the time, much like their own assistants. They know it's a business, that it's going to change. A lot of assistants are there for a year and a half to get to the next job. Sometimes clients are there for a short amount of time, and they understand that. And that's why they work really hard in that interim of just being like, while I have you, let's book it. Because if you book the job, they make their commission. So they want you to get the job.
This is one of my most favorite perspectives too, because I think people don't understand. I mean, my manager is one of my dearest best friends. She's like, you get rejected a couple times a week. I get rejected all day.
Yes.
And she was like, I'm pitching all day and I'm just prepared for no's. And so I have my client roster and I'm submitting, but I'm also actively pitching. And in that, I get told no most of the day. That's just the way it works. And I remember thinking like, oh, we've all got to be a lot nicer to our reps because that's hard.
And my boss was so kind to me at the time where she knew I wanted to go into casting. And I was honest with her. I said, I will be here for pilot season, but I'm looking on to go to casting. And she was like, okay, great. When there were submissions, she would invite me to submit clients at the agency at the time. I mean, on breakdown. So I wasn't making the calls myself. But as an assistant, people have no idea that I'm doing that. Like you could be a client of the agency that's not her client. And I've seen your work and I really love it. And I'll be submitting you as an assistant. And we're so quiet and no one knows that. But I know that I am sending that. Or I may have a friend who is a producer or whatnot, who I went to college with. And I'll be like, hey, have you considered this actor? My neighbor, he was an actor and he did recurring guest stars, whatnot. And I helped him one time he had a manager and he had me look at his resume. And I was like, why does it say co-star when you're a recurring guest star? And he's like, I just trusted that. I'm like, you need to request, if you want to see your resume, if you want to see your materials, do that. Be very communicative. If you feel like you're not being submitted, I mean, don't say, hey, because they are submitting all the time and you have no idea. And kind of like what you're saying, there's a lot of rejection on the agent side. But just say like, if you see something pop up, maybe to the assistant, like don't go to the manager or the agent, just like maybe email the assistant, be like, hey, how's it going? Like I did this cool new project. Like if you guys want it for materials, or I booked this indie for my friend, and just send that to the assistant because you could have an additional materials that we have no idea about. But if we can pitch that or use that to a pitch, it's really helpful. So just like be in the loop. And if you feel like you're annoying the agent, just email the assistant with updates every once in a while and just say, hey, I'm doing this project if you want to know or not.
Yeah, I love this because it also brings about something that I've been told, which I think is really smart, which is in your meetings with agents, when you're meeting agents, a really great thing to do in the beginning is ask them, what style of communication do you prefer?
Yes.
And a lot of agents, my agent that I'm with, whom I love, who is on the podcast, he's my point person. He also does coverage, but he's my point person. And he said to me in the podcast interview, everyone can go back and listen to Adrian's episode. He says clients who stop talking to me is kind of a flag.
Yes.
That if several months have gone by and I haven't heard from you and you've sort of dropped off the face of the earth, that it's sort of an indication that maybe you're not ready or you're not interested or you're not fighting or you're not whatever it is. And so as a result, now if I'm aware of a project or I'm aware of something that I think is a good world for me, and I have additional information. This is a really important part. I don't email my agents and say, hey, I want to audition for this.
Right.
Like I had one recently and I said, hey, I'm really good friends with this casting director.
Right.
They're working on this show. I read the pilot. I think it's a really good show for me. Here's a couple of parts that I think would be good for me. Instead of texting her directly, I think it would probably be more professional for me to let you know and go through you. And so my manager was a little bit wary about me contacting the agent as well. And I had told her, I said, no, he says he likes to get some communication, like healthy communication is really nice. And some people don't want to be emailed ever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Some people like, you do anything, just let me know. My new favorite strategy is, hey, no need to email me back. Like, I love starting an email with that because
yes.
it just gives relief. Like, I don't need a reply.
Yes. It's to be careful of not saying to the agent, like, you're not doing your job. Like, I'm finding this job. So it's just, there is a very fine line to cross there of being like, hey, it sounds like, really be passionate about it if you find something. But for the most part, it's just, please update if you have something, or like, you signed up for a really cool class and now we can submit you for a project because you did a dialect class. And it's like, okay, now I know they could do dialects. That's really good to know because I'm going to pitch that too. But the do not reply, I think those are really important because we get, on the agency side as an assistant, I would start the day with 90 plus emails and have to go, some of them were deadline, but I would have to go through and be like, there's this many auditions, there's this and that. And after a while, it's like when I see like, hey, here's the info, no need to respond. Knowing me, I'll just be like, got it. But, I don't have to do a whole thing. But the times that I wish I could tell every single actor, if you get an audition request, please confirm. Please say received, will be there, or received, cannot make it. Because then we tell casting and we say, hey, they'll be there. Otherwise, casting's be like, are they coming? Are they not? And then when you go in the room, even if we still don't know, you're going to be a TBD. Just please, if you see an audition request, just say yes or no.
I have friends that have signed with agencies, not my agency, but other friends' agencies. And my friends have been like, yeah, no, I signed them with that agent. And they just don't reply to emails.
Oh my God.
I was like, what do you mean?
I just got hives. It's so funny. The one time I think agents and casting just come together with a shared pain is when people don't confirm appointments. It is a bigger deal than you think because then casting, if you don't confirm, they set this time aside and they're like, are they not? And now they're holding it and then they're like, okay, we'll let it go. And then you show up. And they're like, well, we have someone in your slot. You didn't confirm. And then everyone's upset. And then it's not a good experience for anyone involved. Don't be the person that people know you as the no responder. Not that it's it's just,
but really,
so simple.
But really, I remember hearing one agent at an agency, I was like waiting for my meeting or something.
Right.
And I remember an assistant saying how they had to bribe the actress to go to their audition by telling her that she had a check that came into the agency and it was a really big check. And so she should come in to the agency after she goes to the audition. So it was kind of like, I've got a check for you. It's like, and while you're up getting the check, you could also go to your audition. And I remember just thinking that was unfathomable. But
that's insane.
Also, she obviously auditioned, booked, and worked at a level that everyone was willing to just put up with that.
Right.
And I think what you have to ask yourself is like, is that a joy to be that person? And then are you making money? That's such a big thing. Like, are you making money for your agency? And if you're not, then you better have some other things that make you very valuable.
It sounds really bad to say, but it is a business. If you are never responding to emails, you're just not showing up, you're not putting in the work. It's like, okay, if you don't want to do this, please say something, because then someone else who's dying to get representation and put in that work and work really hard is standing right there. But if you have a job during the day and say that's the reason why you can't make an audition, please tell us, because then we'll work around that. That was never an issue. We had clients that had, part-time jobs doing other things. And we were like, okay, cool. Just let me know your work schedule. And when casting gives auditions, we'll work around that. It is nothing to be self-conscious or, the agents are not going to be like, oh, they're clearly not working hard enough to only do acting. It's like, no, just tell us. Because also at the end of the day, the person who's scheduling your auditions is the assistant. So your agent probably won't even know that you're working this hours. Like, we're the ones who are putting that together for you. So listen, we're there. A lot of, unfortunately, agency assistants make close to minimum wage, to be honest. Nothing. Yeah, and it is all for that goal. That's why I say you're not going to find a career assistant at an agency, because it's not sustainable. You can't really have a life outside of work because
it's for resume, connections, experience, right?
Like, all of my nights were spent going to work drinks. I feel like I had more alcohol from work drinks and social things when I was at the agency than I did in college combined.
I believe you.
But like, we're spending our time doing that and trying to meet people and trying to do that. And that's why in casting now, I started doing comedy classes, improv, stand-up, because I also wanted to see the side of performing and what actors go through of being like, this is really hard. Like, this is stressful and hard, and meet people for them. And they have no idea that's what I do. So it's like, I'm seeing you authentically enjoying your craft.
I love that.
You never know who's in your classes, to be honest.
You're collecting favorites as the assistant in an agency, and you might have a connection that the agent doesn't have. And you might know about a project because you're coming with your own relationships and your own experiences, and you're also trying to hustle. Like, it would be so great for you as an assistant to help be the person that brings a connection that comes about a job for everybody.
And a lot of times, too, assistants are related to someone in the industry, or it's unfortunate the system that has been created, but at least the agency I was at, the family owned it, et cetera. And when the agents who were part of that name family, they had to start right in the mailroom, just like everyone else. So you really don't know who the assistant is and who they know. And I know too, my family's from Argentina, and one of our clients had booked a job in Argentina, but the casting director was in New York and the agent was here. And I remember hopping on the phone in Spanish, like connecting all of them. And I was like, you don't know who the assistant is. Like, you could have an assistant that knows some language that helps you get that job done that you had no idea behind the scenes, which is why, not that this is what I say for everyone, but when holidays come or something like that, it's always nice if you don't have the financial means to do so, then send a card,
Totally
send something.
Yes,
but when you send it to your agent, if you also, I'm not saying like, oh, poor us, but if you were to send like a little thing on the side to the assistant being like, hey, I know you work really hard. Like, thank you so much. And we had clients who did that. Like, they would send something to my boss and she would bake cookies for me. And I was so in awe that I felt seen. And then I remembered her too, she was always so nice when she met me. She actually just is on one of our shows for HBO Max. I didn't put her through that. I wish I did, but I messaged her and I was like, I saw you on the table read. Like, do you remember me? And she was also one of my favorites, that she was always so nice. And that simple act of just contacting me, of saying as the assistant, being like, thank you for all your hard work, period. That meant more to me than I could express, because we as the assistants really never get the recognition. But I've been there until like 1 a.m. before during pilot season.
Yes.
And especially because it's a covering desk. And it was assistants only, because we were catching up on auditions from that week. And then I would go right back and get in at 8:30 in the morning the next day. And for a month, it was like no sleep. And it was working really, really hard for the clients, which I was fine. I was doing it because I wanted them to succeed and wanted them to book the jobs. And I wanted to just get through pilot season like everyone else. But just a simple act of just getting recognition of saying, I see you send me auditions. Thanks so much. It means more than anything. And I will remember that as I go through my career. Like, that is so important. And now with my boss, she is maybe one of the nicest people I've ever met in the industry. Did freelancing prior and, does this for the network. I'll talk about some actors with her because she's also so kind to let me be so open. And I'll have a conversation. I'll be like, oh, when I was at the agency, like, I loved this client so-and-so. She was always so sweet. Not even like pitching as talent, but just saying like, oh, if her name ever comes up in an audition, she'd be like, oh my God, this one time she did this for me and she was the nicest ever.
Yes.
It piques someone's interest. Like, that's how far a little thank you goes. It's just to assistants, let alone everyone else,
I love that too, because treat everyone like they're a gatekeeper.
It's true.
And I think we treat like the immediate gatekeepers with that sense. The number of times when I feel like my husband and I, we've gone and seen something, or we watch a show and we have dinner and we feel like we have to ask for the table outside around the corner so that we can talk about it, because we're certain that like whoever's sitting next to us is probably the cast director, the writer, or the producer. And we're like, oh, I don't want to do this. But it really is true. And just, if you're not going to do it because it's the right thing to do, then how do you want people to talk about you when you're testing? I mean, that's just so real. You could be testing and you could have been a jerk to an assistant, and that person is now, and this happens all the time, is now a producer on the show.
Exactly. And it's a lot of pressure too, I imagine, just as an actor, when you say you're always on, of being like, feeling, and I understand it sounds stressful to be like, I have to be nice to everyone. Like, it's not saying like, oh, you have to extend yourself more, because then you're going to get tired, and then eventually, you're going to get burnt out. But just confirming emails, just little things that are more actionable go really, really far in our industry.
But also, a nice email twice a year to an assistant takes nothing, I mean, you had talked about communication to your representation and, not wanting to bother them and everything. And I think like once a year, I don't care how you're doing in your career, you should reach out to your agents and go, how about these materials? These still working? Do we need a different kind of headshot look? Do I need to get a publicist for a something? Do I need a different cut of the reel? We've had these 3 things come out. At least once a year, ideally twice a year, you have a little check-in about your business to the people who are selling you. I think that's completely reasonable.
Oh my God. If you grow facial hair, if you dye your hair, if you do something.
You guys are missing her face. She is got her hands on her eyes, about to sink them in.
Please tell us, because if you are baby-faced in your headshots and you pull into the audition with like a 3-week-old beard, castings'll be like, what did you send me?
Yes,
like, please, if you have multiple ranges of things, send whatever. Just tell your representative. They want you to get the job. You want to get the job. And if you look completely different, oh my God, the amount of times we've sent people in and castings are like, hey, just so you know, the headshot doesn't match what we saw.
But wait, Julia. Wait. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by Carla Zuniga Hair on Instagram at Carla Zuniga Hair. Zuniga Hair. If you have some curls and you're like, I need to tame the wild that is these magical curls, Carla Zuniga Hair on Instagram. She's fantastic. What I really love about her is she doesn't like chop all your hair off and then ask you afterwards, like, so that was great, right? She'll be like, okay, how about this length? And then you're like, I think we can go a little shorter. And then she'll go, okay, how about this length? So if you're somebody who wants a versatile cut, if you have curls and you need somebody who's going to help you manage your curls, if you're making a dramatic and drastic change to your hair and you want somebody who's going to go slowly so that you don't go into toxic shock syndrome over your hair, then Carla Zuniga at Carla Zuniga Hair.
Hi, Audrey. This is Peter James Smith calling from Los Angeles, PJS Actor on Instagram. Okay. I feel like I've done a lot of practice with self-tapes, and I feel very comfortable with that. However, today I had a live audition, which I haven't had in a long time, a live Zoom audition, which I don't think I've done once before for a commercial, and today it was for a theatrical. And anyway, I don't feel like I have so many Zoom live auditions under my belt that I'm comfortable with them, as opposed to, the self-tapes, which I am comfortable with. So I was wondering if you had any, suggestions on how to practice live Zoom auditions. Is there a way to do that? Thanks. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Hi there, Peter. Thanks so much for this wonderful question. This is a really great thing for everyone to consider with Self-Tape May. I know that it's called Self-Tape May, but it could easily be called Self-Practice May. It doesn't have the same ring to it, Audition practice May doesn't flow. Audition practice May sounds a little clunky. And initially I was just like, before the pandemic, what can we do to practice our audition skills by ourselves for free? And self-taping is the thing that I did. That said, if you're coming up against Zoom auditions or for commercials, a Hey Joe or Blue Jeans, and you need to work that skill out because it feels like a little janky, I super recommend doing Self-Tape May and doing even half of your tapes in that format instead. So what would that look like? You could have a friend who schedules you a Zoom session and they can do the scene with you and give you one take, one redirection, and have it be done. And you can have them record it. You can even record it on your phone, sort of behind your computer if you want to, like do a separate backup recording so you can see how you did. And if you just did that 8 to 16 times in the month of May, you would be so much more comfortable with sort of what's your responsibility in making sure the audition goes well, what's casting's responsibility when it feels like it's lagging and it's like what can you do, if anything, to make that smoother? And you'll just feel more at ease with it. Anytime we sort of switch and change what an audition looks like and feels like in our community, it's always super jarring. And I would rather you feel just really comfortable and like you know what this game is. And the best thing to do is just simply set up the circumstances in a fake way, act as if it were a self-tape or act as if it were a Zoom audition, and go in and give it a few goes and see how you do. Work out whatever kinks you can work out. Hold them. Watch them back, see if you've made progress, see what works for you. Even in terms of communication style, like how's the connection? Is it all going well? One tip I would love to offer that I heard from a friend, which is really great, is if there's anyone else in your house who can be your reader, that's really great. So unfortunately, my husband gets recruited when that occurs, but I will have Zoom producer sessions all the time for television shows, things like that. And when that happens, at the start of the session, I just say, so great to see you guys. So just so you know, I actually have my husband here. He's going to be the readers, just so that we don't have any lag issues. If that's okay, I would love to just have them read with me. And then if you have notes, we can do some redirection. And that works very well. And then, they're like, we'd actually really rather use our reader if that's all right. Then it's like, no big deal. Okay, great. Just want to offer a possible solution. And so long as you're not married to that solution and you're not offended if they say no to that solution, it's no big deal. So good luck. Break a leg, everybody. Audition practice May 2022. No, it's not. Self-tape May 2022. What you gonna do?
Selftape.com.
Selftape.com.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
I do want to ask you about working at HBO Max and working in this position, because now we're all in self-tapes. This is a season we're always about self-tape practice, things like that. Right. I know that Linda's in a particular position where she's doing probably larger offers and approvals. So by the time things like get to her, she's really just sort of like approve yes, approve no. Yeah. What are some things, though, along those lines that you see as a reason why maybe somebody doesn't get approved? Is there any consistency on people who do get approved, just so that when people are quote unquote going for approval, so you're pinned and they've sent one person for approval and then they've got a backup. What are some things that you've learned in your time there?
Luckily, by the time they reach Linda and our team, they have gone through their audition, their callback. We have both of those materials. We have your materials from your shows as well. Like, we get the whole everything. It is presented to us. We're just missing your social security number. You know what I mean? Like, we have everything. She has all of that. So say your callback isn't the finest or the strongest. We have your materials, your other stuff, your range of performances. Well, what Linda's doing is just being like, okay, like, can we see them depending on the character? She has always been so talented in her freelance life of the projects she's done. So she has such a special eye for talent as well. So it is such an honor and privilege to watch her do that and just know that. But also, like, there's times that actors have been on set as well with maybe one of our development executives used to be a producer. It's like, oh, I remember them on set. Like, they were really good. Or that's why set is also really important as an actor, and set etiquette as well. But the good thing is, and when I go back to book the room, not the job, is if you have done really well with these people in the past, you've auditioned well, you've had materials and shows that can show for your talent, that is really crucial and really important. If we ask for different direction, we'll just tell the casting director and they'll work with you with it. That's ultimately what ends up on the end side of the network. So if you have other credits, that is also great, because we can look at that as well and go through that, which is always a positive.
So what are some reasons that you can see that maybe people are getting approval or not approval, or what are some things that sort of maybe get in the way, or is it always just like a stamp of approval and by the time it gets to her and journey forward?
It's very tricky because not only do you have the approval from the casting, if the network has a casting exec, but you also have the producer's approval, right? Because producers could love one choice and the other choice are like, no, like I love this choice. Like maybe they were, they've worked with them in the past or whatnot. And that has nothing to do with your performance or your talent, which is always hard, I think, as the actor to be like, why didn't I make it? And your agent has to be like, they went with another choice.
Yeah, nobody knows.
And also assistants are on every call, by the way. So, we hear
all of it.
You want to talk about us? Like, you better ask us to hop off the line. But, but like, there were so many times that, my boss would call network execs, be like, hey, why didn't so-and-so, can I just know for my knowledge? A lot of times network execs would just be like, they went with the other choice.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's just understood of, it could be that the producers preferred this person because X, Y, and Z. And a lot of times it's just look, or, it's like, they really is who I imagine this role to be. And you could have just been also really good and it was just different. I have to say most of the time, it never comes down to the talent because you've made it that far. You were good enough to get there. It's just a matter of logistics and what is being negotiated and how it's going to work. But if you make it to a network test or, you're put up for approval, you are talented enough. I'm not saying that to be like, quit all your classes, please keep doing it.
Yeah, please get better.
Most of the time, if it was something within your performance, casting will adjust you, or it could also not be your performance. Maybe the producers want to see a different side. But the point is you've made it that far. Someone saw something in you, so you shouldn't take it, like get a pint of ice cream and be sad if you didn't make it, be like, oh man, like I was so close.
Yeah.
Don't take it as you as a performer, because I think it's really easy. I've seen on the agency side where clients will take it very personally, which is really hard, but don't take it personally, because at the end of the day, we are a business of saying, okay, what is going to work here? And honestly, you could have missed that. We've had actors in the past on the agency side not make a test for something or put up for approval and then book a series regular like 4 weeks later.
Exactly.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. It's the beautiful part of our industry and the worst part of our industry.
Yes.
Absolutely. We have this expectation of feedback so that we can adjust, but there's just not time and energy for all the feedback.
Yeah.
There just isn't.
That's the hard part to ask, like, oh, like, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? If you didn't get, you just have to, how was casting? Like, did the casting director like me? Did we have a good time? If you had a good time and you seem like you got along well, you should be proud of that. Because at the end of the day, auditioning is your job, booking the role is the vacation.
Exactly. That
is the hard part.
It's the paid bonus cherry on top.
The long hours, but vacation.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly it. So I also wanted to ask you, you've listened to a little bit of the podcast.
Yeah.
I want to see if there's anything that we haven't covered that you want to bring up.
And my brother who works in the industry had told me this when I first moved to LA, and it was the best piece of advice I have ever heard. He was like, the key to the hearts of entertainment people is if you could do all three, great, but do one of the three. Gift booze, gift baked goods, or give compliments. And if you could do all three in one, that is the best gift you can give. Those three things are like what people in our industry absolutely love.
I love that. I like to also take a look at like who my reps are. One of my reps gets migraines and I'm not giving him booze and I'm not giving him chocolate because they're triggers.
That's true.
And if you're like, don't know if they're sober or you don't know.
Exact. That's a big thing too.
Also check your social medias. Like your agents, if you follow them on social media, often you can see certain things that they like. If they freaking, are always posting rosé, grab a bottle of rosé. Another thing I always recommend to people too is giving people something they can regift, especially around the holiday season, because there's so many parties and so many things that reps have to go to that if you give your rep a bottle of wine, then they can take that bottle of wine to the party that they're definitely going to go to tonight.
That is true.
Instead of having to like go stop someplace, get some wine, and then go somewhere else.
I think that's actually really smart, the regifting things. I've been in many situations and I'll be like, I don't know what to bring. And then I'll be like, oh, I got this gift from an event.
Yes, exactly.
It's real. But if you make it kind of personal too, that's always really nice. But the socials are key. See what they're tagged in. see where they go. One of our executives at HBO Max, like someone was like, oh, I want to buy her a gift. And I knew that I had done on my Instagram during the holiday season, tell me small businesses you love. And she recommended one to me. And I just gave that business to the person who, I mean, that's a very complicated way.
No, but that's perfect.
If you have that relationship with your boss, you know, they love a particular store, it shows that you pay attention to them as well.
And builds the relationship, strengthens the relationship.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, like they are pitching you like you have never seen. Like they're going to, every time they get on a call, you are the best actor the Hollywood has ever seen, like in a good way, but they're going to be like, this is everything they are amazing at. So they know the little things about you. It's like, oh, this project takes place in Newark, New Jersey. Oh my God, they grew up in New Jersey. Here's their experience. You know, it's like, they know everything about you. So it's like, if you take that time to just learn one about them, it's like, oh, they know about me.
I love that. Sometimes actors get auditions and you've got like a night planned, you've got a day planned, or, you know, you had plans and now your plans are done because it's called audition time. And I know that that can be a little bit like, ugh, to actors. And a lot of actors talk to me about that feeling that they get out of the audition. Like the first feeling is like, yay. And then immediately following is like, oh God, how do I do this? And the frustration. And they ask me all the time, like, how do I turn that around? What do you do to turn that around as fast as possible? And one of the other things that really helps me is I understand all the things that have happened just to get to this audition on everyone else's part.
Yeah.
So how hard the agents have had to work on the relationships to then get the auditions, to then get the appointment for you to get here.
Yes.
All of the work that the creatives, the casting directors have done. Cast directors are pitching so hard to book jobs now to get shows and movies to work on. They're busting their butts to do it. And then the creatives, the writers, the directors, like to make it to casting, to make it to the point where something is casting is like a magnificent feat. Like nothing gets to casting. Very few actually make it to casting.
It's true. It's also the amount of submissions that casting receives from agencies, from breakdown, from calls, everything. They're going through thousands and thousands and thousands. So for you to make it audition, you've made it through the first cut. So that's why auditions are so exciting, because it's like, you know, there's something about you that they want to see on that day. I know it's very easy, especially if you're constantly auditioning and you're not booking, to be like, oh, all right, it's just another. That's why it's so important to just like start to know the casting directors. You know, does this person keep bringing you in? Like clearly they like you, like they see something about you, you know, and it's like, okay, you're going in and they clearly like you. So like, let's have fun in the audition. Like have a good time, because they like you. If they didn't like you, they wouldn't bring you in all the time. So that's also something really important to see about casting, is how often do you go to the same office? Yeah.
It's like if they're requesting a tape from you every 3 episodes, well, they're clearly trying to get you the audition.
Exactly. If you have no talent, you weren't good, you were mean, they wouldn't be doing that for you.
That's
so
right.
Just really enjoy that, knowing that someone is seeing you and saying, hey, I'm going to keep bringing you in because I want you to get that. And that's why when Josh had said to me, you know, we want actors to get the job because then our job is done. I've been in offices where someone books the job and we just celebrate. A lot of actors don't see that, but both the agents, like the team, the representatives, and casting just starts clapping. The emails are just like exclamation point. So they're probably really excited. So is everyone behind you. Like everyone's excited for you. It's not like, okay, great, next. Like it's like, oh my God, they got it. So just know that people are excited for you. And I also see in casting, actors will reach out to the casting director or the casting exec and just say, when appropriate, they'll be like, hey, thank you so much. I look forward to working on this project. And it's just saying like, hey, you looked out for me and I appreciate that. That's why, like, it sounds so silly, but thank you emails do go a really long way when done right. Because it's easy to be like, thank you if it is oversaturated. But when you genuinely mean it, of just being like, oh, thank you, I'm so excited. That is so exciting to see that it's like, you care, we care, it's going to be great.
We all won.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
It's just know if you are in an audition that if you were to get it, it's just everyone is just so happy. And there's been times that people after self-tapes or after going in the room, casting will just be like, oh my God, that was incredible. And they may love you. And then when it comes to approval time, like something happens, but a lot of times actors don't see it, but sometimes casting and even assistants will be like, oh my God, you have to see this tape. Like it's so good. You'll never see that. You'll be like, okay, I did my audition, like gonna go on now.
And it's gone. Right, exactly. And into the void.
Yeah, but people are excited about your tape and are just like, wow. And I think a lot of people have respect for actors. It's like you put yourself out there and you are your brand. It's a hard job. It's really freaking hard. And actors get up and do it every day. And people really respect that. I mean, you're called talent for a reason. Like you have a talent to do what you do. And people see that. You may not feel like they do, but it is seen across the industry that you're working hard.
Yeah, I really love that perspective. I really do. But wait, Julia, wait. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by Jeff Pride at Self Tapes Here. That's Self Tapes Here on Instagram. You guys, Jeff has been crushing it. Not for nothing, but we are getting tons of people who are reaching out to us to let us know they had a great tape with Jeff and also are booking jobs. Yay! Jeff Pride, if you don't know him, he has been a session runner for commercial casting directors for years. And he is also a booking, working actor in commercials, television, comedy, drama, all of the things. He is fantastic at getting actors to just do whatever is needed to make sure the story is told, and also they're bringing themselves to the role. If you don't know the magic that is a casting director hiring a session runner, they only trust the very best at that job. And the years that he is spending and has spent in that profession has made him so uniquely qualified to help you book. And I just love that he's doing this. I think it's such a great service for truly everybody because what he does is really valuable. So Jeff Pride at Self Tapes Here.
Hello, Audrey. I have a quick question about agency and types. My question is, I've been with my agent for a little over a year, and I've been getting massive amounts of bookings and jobs, and I'm just extremely grateful. However, recently my agent has signed on new talent who looks a lot like me and has quite a lot of skills like me, only better. My question is, what shall I do? Because I'm quite nervous that casting might fancy this new talent more than me. Should I enrich my skills? Should I change my look? Or should I just get a new agent altogether? Hope you can help. Love you. Love your show. Cheers.
Great. Love this question. In terms of what to do about this, yeah, I think always getting better is a great idea. So I don't know what the specialty skills or specific skills are that maybe your competition has at the agency that you don't have. In terms of whether or not you should leave your agent, I would say no. I mean, I remember a great agent, Joey, and he gave this really great talk about when actors say, how many do you have in my category? And he said, that's not really a great question because you can't know how many people in your category I need. So for instance, if you're booking a lot, maybe they feel like they need another one of you because sometimes casting has called or asked for somebody in your category and you're on set. So you are no longer available. You're booked out because you're doing a job. So you're no longer available for that job. So your agent said, you know what? I need to get myself another girl in that type. And when you get into the really competitive world, when you're in the high echelon, when you're auditioning regularly and booking top of show guest stars, recurring guest stars, series regulars, things like that, everybody's incredible. And it really does become a process of selection and not rejection. So when it's a process of selection and not rejection, you have to have faith that what you're bringing to the role is unique. Now, you may audition for the same job that your competition at your agency auditions for, and they may book it. But if you're both operating at the top of your game, they're not booking it because they're better than you. They're not booking it because, they're magical. Chances are you're both very good and they're booking it for some specific reason. Either, their hair is a little bit cooler or not. Your hair's too cool for the role. Maybe it has to do with their essence and how that helps tell the story of whatever it is they're auditioning for. If you are consistently losing out to this other person, then I would highly recommend that you evaluate that. Is it a look thing? Is it an essence thing? Or is it that they're better than you? They may be better than you. And if they are better than you, you've got to get better. And here's the thing about competition. I remember, having a different point of view about this than my husband. And my husband was like, no, competition is great because that's what makes everyone so much better. Like when great people come in and challenge you, it challenges you to be the very best. And if you're on a forward trajectory for this career, you're going to be up against the best of the best who aren't even at your agency. So you definitely need to sharpen your skills as much as possible. In terms of changing your look and things like that, I wouldn't do it if it's working for you. If you are auditioning and you are booking and your reps love you and they need to add another person to the team that is very similar to you, I don't see an absolute problem with that until you've proven that there has been a problem. So I hope that's helpful to you.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Okay, I always end with the final questions. First, I want to ask, do you have any social media that you want to plug?
Well, I have my Instagram. It's Julia_Linger. And then I got into TikTok recently, sounding very Gen Z here, which is JCLER55. That was my AOL account when I was in middle school, and it has survived this long. But yeah, and then anything HBO Max, everyone who works there, I'm not just saying this, is genuinely nice people. I've never worked in an office that people are just happy to be there and kind. So all those shows are made with love. It's like baked with love. Like they're made with love. They really are.
Well, they're on the winning team. I mean, that's what I've noticed too on shows that I've worked on that are like the winning shows, not just like they win awards, but like people genuinely love the shows. There's a real love for them. It's like you feel that, and every time you go in, it just feels like, we're doing this. This is great.
It does show through too. And I think what's cool about HBO and HBO Max is they really take care of their people, both corporate and the actors. And I think that's what I always wanted in a company, is people being like, no, like you're human. Yeah. You deserve equal treatment.
Things, like human treatment. My next question.
Yes.
Do you have any questions for me?
What has been your favorite piece of advice as an actor that you've ever received?
I think the understanding that it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And the further I go in, the more I just see that and see that and see that and see that and see that. Those realizations, I think that it's a lifestyle, that you don't like click into a success or into a groove where suddenly it's easier or suddenly it's just like stress-free and suddenly like you don't have to hustle anymore.
Yeah.
Just the realization that the hustle is the lifestyle, that the art and the hustle are the lifestyle combined.
Yeah. We had so many clients on the agency side that they were booking, like they were getting series regular booking, and they constantly, can I do anything else? Like, is there anything? And I'm like, whoa, like you on a regular work standards, you're successful, rest. But I feel like it's so amazing how many actors are like, okay, yeah, but what else can I do? Like, I love working. I love working hard. And you're like, oh my God, working is what makes them happy and fulfilled. So it's like, they want to keep going. And I think that's so admirable of just being like, wow, you are doing what you love. But it is easy to get caught up in the hustle of it and not be like, wow, I did book that. Like,
right.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I always say celebrate after like the job is long since passed. Because every step to it, you're like, oh, I got the audition. Am I going to suck? I got the callback. Am I going to suck? Oh, I got pinned. Am I going to lose it? Oh, I'm on set. Am I going to get fired? Yeah. Oh, I wrapped it. Is it going to air? Oh, it's airing. Is anyone going to notice or like it? So it's like once it's done and then it was like anyone noticed or cared, that's when you're like, yay!
Yeah, it's like the residuals come in and you're like, oh yeah, nice.
Oh yeah, I'm successful. I forgot. That was a good reminder. Yeah. Okay, what do you wish somebody had taught you or managed to get you to understand when you were just a wee babe entering this business?
Just be authentic to you, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to give you 1,000 pieces of advice. It's very easy to get sucked into that and lose track. Like, I know I'm a weird person, and in many agency standards of being like, the suits, the clean cut, like I wasn't the most traditional, but I think that helped me when I wrote emails I made friends in castings like, hey, what's going on? Like in a professional way, but also, and I kept true to that. Like I wasn't going to throw someone else under the bus. Like, I'm not saying that's like norm, but a lot of people are like, why? Like you have to work and like, that's the game. And I'm like, I guess, but I also don't want to lose track of who I am, because I see a lot of people that easily start to get engulfed by the culture of it. Mm-hmm. They forget that. And I think that's something that I really strive to just be like, no, I'm going to find things that do root me back to me and not make everything about the entertainment industry. If you're an actor, read the news and know things that aren't entertainment related, because that will also help you build with other people. And I try to keep roots in non-entertainment friends and people and activities so that it kind of reminds me and takes me away from the world and be like, oh yeah, like there's so many eclectic groups of people and I could just be me, and it's very, very great. So
yeah, it is great.
Yeah, it is great to
just
take a
be
break.
Yourself. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
I love it. And my last thing is mildly interesting.
I mean, this is a weird fact I tell everyone, but dogs, when they're play fighting, they're play fighting when they sneeze. That's a really fun fact, especially people who are afraid of dogs. If they're sneezing, it's going to be okay. They're just playing.
I love that because my dog does do the sneezing.
Yeah, it's a weird fact, but it's definitely the one I drop. Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Exciting.
I'm a fan of that one. No, it's not supposed to be exciting. It's called mildly interesting.
It is mildly interesting.
It's mildly interesting. I think it perfectly fits the category, personally.
Thank you. That's what I strive for.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Tell Anthony I'm so glad that he connected us. I will also reach out to him and thank him. I think this is going to be just a tremendous help and perspective to actors. And I just love the willingness to come on and just talk about assistanting, because I think a lot of actors, I'll say, don't know that it's even like a category that exists very much in Hollywood, and that they're a group of people that should be considered and should be fought for and should be treated well. And they're a part of this tapestry, which I just really love.
Oh, that was beautiful. I love that. Love the way you put that. But thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, we are talking to director, writer extraordinaire Patricia Cuffy Jones. Pew, pew, pew! Patricia Cuffy Jones. She can't stop, won't stop working. It's a really beautiful episode. I wanted a writer-director's perspective on self-tapes and auditions. They are, in fact, the end of the day, they are the decision makers. And so what helps you book a job is not just what casting thinks, but truly what the director thinks, what they see out of your tape that makes you book. Thanks so much for Julia. Julia, what's up, girl? Did you guys know Julia's my middle name? Audrey Julia Moore. Julia, I adore you. You were so fantastic. I love this episode. Thanks so much. Thanks also to Anthony Grisetto. Anthony, thanks so much for introducing me to Julia. She is fantastic. And Anthony, you're amazing. This episode was mixed and mastered by Thomas Hank Snodgrass, produced by Jesse Lumen, still so handsome, everyone. It's been a hard couple years, and I have to say, he's managed to get even handsomer. This episode was edited by Taylor Martirana. Taylor! Show music by Ari De Niro and theme song by Alok Mehta and 108 Hill. All right, everybody, don't forget your towel.